This is the Crisscross Show. I'm back after a 2-week hiatus, I want to say. I had a lot to endure these past 2 weeks with the Lakers' early exit. That's actually the first thing I want to talk about here in this episode. I'm also going to give you a new something, nothing, or everything, an elephant in the room, my thoughts on the teams left, my dream scenarios for the NBA offseason, and as well as I'm going to let you know what I thought about those teams that exited in the first round and what I think their future holds for them. Anyways, enjoy. Okay, so before I start my segment, I know the past couple of episodes I have been wearing a jersey. I'm actually not wearing a jersey. I'm actually wearing a Philadelphia 76ers Ben Simmons t-shirt. They did play the Hawks. They did lose to the Hawks, so the series is tied 2-2. But I do have a jersey to show you guys. It is my Kevin Love Cleveland Cavaliers jersey. Now, I got this jersey, I think, back in 2016, shortly after they won the title. I really like the color, the navy blue. I really actually like that jersey in general, so that is me sharing a jersey in this episode. Anyways, back to the regular scheduled program. Okay, so I've had a huge, hard pill to swallow the past couple of weeks. So the LA Lakers were eliminated by the Phoenix Suns in the first round. Obviously won 6 games. After LA took a 2-1 lead, Phoenix won the last 3 games. Now, I advocated for the Lakers all season. I thought they were going to win the championship all season. I thought these injuries, they're going to not be there during the playoffs. They're going to get back to it. LeBron's going to figure it out. He's at least going to take them to the Western Conference Finals. That obviously didn't happen. Anthony Davis went down. Dennis Schroeder was in COVID protocols about a week before the playoffs started. LeBron not confident with his ankle. I know I'm just naming excuses for a lot of people who think I make excuses for the Lakers. But LeBron's in his 18th season. At least he was in this past year. It was a lot to handle. It was a crazy season. Obviously, they had a short off season, 71 days if I'm not mistaken. It was a pretty hard pill to swallow when Phoenix was obviously up 30 against them in Game 5 and so forth. It was really hard to swallow. So my thoughts on the Lakers' exit was it was premature. Again, Phoenix right now is currently waiting their opponent in the Western Conference Finals. So it tells you that Phoenix was clearly the second best team in the Western Conference next to a healthy Lakers team. Obviously, they had to face them in the first round. When all were healthy, it was Lakers were up 2-1. Obviously, injuries and all this other stuff happens. They lose 4-2. Now, again, I still think that the Lakers were the better team when healthy. When healthy, the Phoenix Suns are the second best team, which is why they're in the Western Conference Finals, which is why they also took advantage of Denver with also dealing with Jamal Murray being out, their second best player. So my thoughts on the Lakers' exit was that it was premature. It was a really terrible taste in my mouth. I've heard it from a bunch of people because a bunch of people know I advocated for the Lakers. But anyways, they always say this. They always say, we'll get them next year, right? This is the first time, especially as a LeBron fan, I've been spoiled for so long, going to the finals, going far in the playoffs, that I finally feel what a lot of people have been feeling, which is an early exit. So I'm coping with that. I'm learning. It's a new experience. I know a lot of people I know deal with first round exits all the time. I don't. This is the first time I've ever dealt with the first round exit. So I'm learning. It's a learning curve. I haven't really, been the best sport about, being bounced in the first round, but I'm learning. And I think that the Lakers next year, I'm hoping that they make a big trade for a third star because I do believe, they do need a third star, especially if Anthony Davis is going to continue to get hurt every 2 seconds. So I will actually get into that segment later, but I just want to let you guys know my thoughts on the Lakers exit. It was premature. Again, the Suns are pretty legit. Second best team, arguably, in my opinion, next to the Lakers, but obviously they faced them. So Those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you think on my thoughts, whether you think my thoughts are true or not. It is what it is. But anyways, those are my thoughts on the Lakers' early exit. Okay, up next is the something, nothing, or everything segment. Now, I really like this segment because I give you a couple of things that have happened, whether it's in the NBA, the NFL, MLB, or just sports in general. And I tell you whether it's something, nothing, or everything, meaning it's everything for that so-said team or player, or it's nothing, doesn't mean anything, or it could develop. And that's what something is. Anyways, Denver being swept by the Phoenix Suns in the Western Conference semifinals. Is that something, nothing, or everything? I'm going to go with that is something. It's not everything because, again, I think Denver had a pretty good season. They made some good mid-season trades like getting Aaron Gordon. But again, Aaron Gordon was in Orlando and wasn't doing anything Orlando. He was just a good player who was getting good stats in a bad team. So that really didn't mean much. And also Jamal Murray going down was a lot. He was phenomenal this season before he went down, was playing great basketball. Obviously, him and Nikola Jokic have been playing together for years, so they have that chemistry. So them getting swept to me is something. I think it does mean something, especially to not get even just a single game in the series is something. Again, Jamal Murray being out was a huge game changer. I do believe they still would have lost to Phoenix if they had Jamal Murray in maybe 6 to 7 games, because I think he could at least help them get a couple of games. But I think this is something. Again, you make a lot of mid-season trades. Either it gels or it takes time to gel, and it took some time to gel for Denver. And it's just very, very unfortunate the way they had to go and get swept. So to me, that is something for the Denver Nuggets getting swept. Also, up next, Lakers and Russell Westbrook trade rumors. Now, I think this is nothing. I think this is just a bunch of people making some stuff up. I saw this on Instagram. There was no actual sources confirmed that this was actually in the works. I don't know how this makes sense. Russell Westbrook doesn't shoot, and LeBron is best when he's around shooters. So to me, that makes no sense. I think this is nothing. I think this, if anything, it's really, really bad from whoever made this doesn't know basketball, in other words, because again, you surround LeBron with shooters, not guys who clog up the paint. So that is nothing for the Lakers. Dame's cryptic post after they lost in the first round, he said, how long is enough to stay committed or to stay, loyal? Obviously, you're going to see the picture here, but I think this is something because, again, Dame these past 2 years has been a first-round exit after their Western Conference Finals appearance, in which they actually got swept by the Warriors without KD. So I think that the Portland Trail Blazers have reached their limit, and I think they're finally starting to realize that their ceiling is first, maybe second round, especially since the Western Conference is getting much younger and a lot better. You see teams like Phoenix, Memphis, Utah, they're all up and coming. And Portland, they've been there for a while and they haven't done much, especially in the years where you felt that they could have done some stuff. They haven't. So I think that this post is something. I think it does show Damian Lillard's frustration within the organization that, you can't surround them again. You can't surround them with players. I mean, we've been hearing this for 2-3 years now that Kevin Love has been, in trade talks with Portland, but it's just never gone through. So again, Portland can't get Damian Lillard the players. And I understand Damian Lillard really questioning his loyalty now because he wants to win. I mean, everyone talks about how Dame time is the real thing and how he's a winner and everything, but he hasn't won. So I think Damian Lillard is starting to really realize that, and this is something, especially now firing Terry Stotts or actually letting him go. So this is definitely something for Damian Lillard's cryptic post. All right. Anyways, up next is actually my elephant in the room. But first, please enjoy this commercial. You know what Mr. Rodriguez loves to do when he's grading papers? Loves to enjoy it while eating a bag of Ruffles. Ruffles chips is the greatest chips in the world because they have a variety of flavors, like original, cheddar, flamin' hot barbecue, sour cream and onion, and my favorite, lime and jalapeno. Not only do Ruffles have ridges, but they also have a pretty cheap cost to them. Ruffles are so great that even star basketball players like NBA champion Anthony Davis eat them. Isn't that right, Anthony? Now, enough about me. Why don't you go out and you buy these chips and just see how amazing they truly are? Okay, so this next segment is Elephant in the Room. Now, the elephant in the room is the segment in which I give you something that is clearly obvious to all of us and I break it down. So, the elephant in the room, and I said this last segment, the Portland Trailblazers should blow it up and start rebuilding because this thing is not working. Unless you're planning to make a significantly big trade to give Damian Lillard a second superstar, blow it up. CJ McCollum, Yusuf Nurkic, Norman Powell, they're great players, but they're not going to help Damian Lillard get over, let's say, a Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, or an Anthony Davis or LeBron, or a Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Those players aren't going to help him get over that hump. So blow it up or just trade all those guys and reach for a second star. Get someone that you can rely on just as much as you can rely on Damian Lillard. So I think break this up or just get another star because you've had 2 first-round exits these past 2 playoffs after reaching the Western Conference Finals. And again, when they were in the Western Conference Finals, they got swept. So, what's the ceiling here for them? A sweep in the Western Conference Finals, to be honest with you. So, Portland, blow it up or just finally get Damian Lillard, Kevin Love, finally get them another player that can score, that can get you meaningful buckets. I know CJ McCollum can get you buckets, but a lot of his buckets aren't meaningful because they're not translating in wins. So blow it up or get him another star. And I don't really know many stars that are available this offseason, or at least in trade talks. So I just think blow it up, give Damian Lillard away, maybe to the Lakers for Kyle Kuzma or Montrezl Harrell, kind of get some pretty good pieces in return. But this just isn't working, and the elephant in the room, break it up, Trailblazers. Just let it go. You've passed your time. You've had some time. It's over. Just pass it. So there you go. That's my elephant in the room. Okay, up next is my thoughts on the teams so far in the playoffs. So the teams that are left are the Suns, the Clippers, Philadelphia, Brooklyn, Milwaukee, Utah, and Atlanta. Now, I categorize them into 3 different groups. One that I think has the real potential of winning. The second tier who they could, but they've got some injuries. And then the last one is they have no chance. Now, full disclaimer here, I do believe that all teams have a chance right now. This is the first playoffs in the longest time that I can think of that there's not a clear 2 that can win it. So last year you had the Lakers or the Clippers, right? Those are the 2 clear-cut favorites. 2019 it was Warriors, and to believe it or not, the Raptors. I know a lot of people say Milwaukee, but the Raptors were always great. They always had a chance, but they were always in the way of LeBron. So and then obviously you can go back to 2018, Cavs, Warriors, 2017, Cavs, Warriors, 2016, Cavs, Warriors. So for the past couple of years, you knew the 2 teams that were at least going to be in the finals, right? It was pretty obvious. So I do feel that all these teams have a chance, but I did categorize them into a group because I do believe that there's still some tiers here. And my first tier is the no chance, which is the Atlanta Hawks. I think the Atlanta Hawks are good. I was going to say great, but they're actually good. I do believe that They are about a year or two away. I like their offseason acquisitions, getting Gallinari, getting Bogdanovic. Those are some great acquisitions. I mean, they're tied 2-2 with Philadelphia right now, but I just think that they're too young. And as Atlanta gets deeper into the playoffs, if they do end up beating Philadelphia, they have Brooklyn, they have Milwaukee, they have Phoenix, they have Clippers, they have Jazz, who are just significantly better roster-wise, and I think that they'll get swallowed up. So I think their ceiling is this round. I do believe Philadelphia will prevail and win. It's going to take Philadelphia some time because, again, Atlanta, it's like you can't touch Trae Young without following him right now. So that's something to hold on to for Atlanta. My next group is, I do believe they still can win it, but they do have some injuries to them, which I think will ultimately, be their demise, which is Brooklyn, Milwaukee, and Utah. So Brooklyn, we know Kyrie's out Game 5. James Harden, who knows when he'll come back. Can Kevin Durant do it himself? We're going to finally see Kevin Durant by himself. Can he beat Milwaukee? Milwaukee, Dante DiVincenzo, who was a key player in the rotation this year, is out for the rest of the year. Giannis has been playing phenomenal. I do believe that Brooklyn and Milwaukee, this series is more even than ever because you got one star in each team and a bunch of good role players to support them. Utah has Donovan Mitchell, who's a superstar. He's just kind of solidified it this past year, leading them to the number 1 seed, and obviously last year in the bubble, and obviously this year so far in the playoffs. They do have injuries, though. Mike Conley, apparently he's coming back Game 5, Game 6, Game 2. They keep changing the timeline for him, so I don't really know. Again, all those injuries that I just listed for those teams, key players in those rotations. So I do believe that they still have a chance, but not as much as the teams above them, which I'm going to get to right now. So the teams that I believe that have clear-cut advantage, if I were to pick, are Phoenix, Clippers, and Philadelphia. Now, the Suns have been playing amazing. They beat the defending champions, and then they swept the MVP. So, I mean, they've been playing amazing basketball. Chris Paul's leading the charge. Devin Booker is ready to take the torch into stardom. So, Phoenix has been playing great. The Clippers, like I mentioned in my last couple of previous episodes, they are a roller coaster. They're great one night, they're terrible the next night. You just don't know. But I do believe that they can be consistent enough once they get deeper into the playoffs to realize, oh wait, we can actually win. Let's do this. So I'm going to go with Clippers also having a chance at really winning this all. And also Philadelphia. Joel Embiid, even though with a torn meniscus, has been playing phenomenal. Imagine if he didn't have a torn meniscus. I mean, he'd be sensational. They probably would have swept Atlanta by now. Again, my keys for them are coach, supporting cast, and stars. So Phoenix, again, we know Chris Paul, Devin Booker, stars, cast, Cameron Payne, Jay Crowder, amazing. And then obviously the coach, Monty Williams, who's been phenomenal. The Clippers, Ty Lue, when his back's against the wall, has proven that he's a great coach. Obviously, you saw this Game 3 and 4 so far right now for the Clippers versus Jazz, and also against the Dallas Mavericks as well. And then Philadelphia. Oh, actually, sorry, my bad. With the Clippers, the cast, Terrence Mann played a significant role in the first round. Nick Batum, Marcus Morris Sr., they've all been playing good roles. And again, as I mentioned, stars, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George have been playing phenomenal. Philadelphia, obviously Doc Rivers is a well-established coach. The cast, Maltese Thybulle. I'm going to consider Tobias Harris a star. Seth Curry has been playing phenomenal and all that other stuff. And again, the stars, Tobias, Ben, and Embiid have been playing great so far. So I think those three teams have a significant chance to win it. If I were to pick between all of them, I do believe one of those three teams will be hosting the trophy if there's no injuries that occur to them. So that is my thoughts on the teams currently in the playoffs so far. All right, up next, dream scenarios for this NBA offseason. So my first one, and this one came in light of recent things that Lonzo Ball said over the weekend. So Lonzo Ball was asked what was the best advice given to him, and he obviously said, LeBron's advice, in which keeping the main thing the main
I
thing.
think the best advice I got is from Bron so far. He sat me down one time in the locker room and obviously he's been through everything. He kind of knew all the crazy stuff that I was going through when I first got to the league, and he told me just to keep the main thing the main thing.
Now, this rose a lot of, kind of thoughts and ideas in people on social media. Everyone's calling for Lonzo to sign with the Lakers. Obviously, Lonzo's a restricted free agent. So, in other words, if the Lakers offer him something, New Orleans can match that and keep him. So, it's very, very unlikely, but I again, this is a dream scenario. I'd love Lonzo to go to the Lakers, maybe replace Dennis Schroeder just in case he does leave. Because again, Lonzo Ball is an amazing defender. His jump shots gotten better since he was last in LA. And again, just to see the reunion of LeBron and Lonzo. Because we all know LeBron loves Lonzo a lot. He loves him more than Kuzma, that's for sure. So Lonzo's a dream scenario to LA. The Lakers. Also, another dream scenario for the Lakers is Curry or Dame. Now, when the Lakers first lost to the Phoenix Suns, I said trade Anthony Davis to Warriors or Portland. Straight up, Curry for AD or Dame for AD. Because I was just upset that, again, AD just keeps getting hurt. But the more I think about it, you can trade for Curry and Dame if you give up like a Kyle Kuzma, a Montrezl Harrell, and a possible Dennis Schroeder. I think giving up those three players for one of those guys is, equivalent. And if anything, it's unfair still because I think Steph and Dame are significantly better than those three combined, or at least what they bring to the court. So those are my dream scenarios, at least for the Lakers, is Lonzo to LA, Curry or Dame to LA. Obviously, the likelihood of those happening, not big. But again, it's a dream scenario. Next, Duncan Robinson to Golden State. I think if Duncan Robinson joins Steph Curry, Klay Thompson in Golden State, that team would be scary because you wouldn't be able to double team anyone. Yes, you can leave, Draymond open, but again, you have Curry, Duncan, and Klay on the corners or the 3-point corners. I mean, you just gotta hope that they miss. So Duncan Robinson to Golden State is a dream scenario for me. Kyle Kuzma to Portland. Now, I do want Kyle Kuzma to do good, even though I actually want him away from the Lakers because of, not developing well. I do believe going to Portland will give him a fresh start. As you can see, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, and Lonzo Ball flourished when they went to New Orleans. Their game got a lot better because they were out of the spotlight and they just had a new start. And that's all we want for Kyle Kuzma, is to have a new start. I think Kyle Kuzma in Portland, if he gets traded for Damian Lillard, will have a fresh start and will probably average around 22 to 25 points per game, which would actually be pretty good for him. My last dream scenario, Kawhi to Miami. Miami is in need of a score, a number one option, because I think Jimmy Butler, you can't rely on him to score. You can rely on him to do everything else but score. Bam, you don't want him chucking up 20 shots a game. That's just my opinion. You want Bam protecting the rim. You want Bam doing the dirty work. You don't want him being your number one scorer. I think Kawhi is a great number one scorer. He can get you a bucket when you need a bucket, and that's what Miami Miami was lacking in a number one option to score. Because they were going to Kendrick Nunn, they were going to Tyler Hero, they were going to Jimmy Butler, players that they can take those shots, but you really don't trust them in those situations as much as you would with Kawhi. So Kawhi to Miami would be a dream scenario of mine. Also, he goes to the Eastern Conference, and he's away and can possibly challenge the Brooklyn Nets, Milwaukee, or Philadelphia in the Eastern Conference. So those are my dream scenarios for some players to go to other teams. Up next, last segment, is my thoughts on the teams that exited in the first round and what that means for them. Okay, so a couple of teams went home in the first round. First, most notably, Portland. What does this tell me about Portland? It means that they've reached their ceiling. that they can't do anything more with the current team as constructed. I know they reached for Norman Powell in mid-season trades, but he was only useful when you faced a Lakers team or a let's go Clippers, where you have a good wing defender that can hold off LeBron or Kawhi Leonard, but obviously you didn't even reach them. So what does that tell you? It means your roster's not even that good. And especially since Denver got swept and they beat you in 6, it tells you that you realistically had no chance. So Portland, ceiling has been reached. If anything, it's getting smaller for them as they continue to run it back, as they continue to do every year. The Lakers, what does this tell me about them? It tells me that injuries played a huge part in their season, and also they need a third star. They need a big 3. They need a Brooklyn-type big 3. So I think reach for Damian Lillard, reach for Steph Curry, reach for a consistent third star, because regardless whether you like it or not, Anthony Davis is going to be dinged up sometime in the season. So you're going to need someone to back up LeBron. And that's just what I think that the Lakers need to do, and that's just something that tells me about their first round exit. Next is Boston. So Boston was quickly eliminated in 5 games by Brooklyn. What I think is that Boston is done, and clearly they've shown it. So Brad Stevens has moved into the front office, and now they're looking for a coach. And also I've been hearing Marcus Smart is in the trade market. What does this tell me about Boston? It means trade or blow it up and just start rebuilding around Jason Tatum, because it's not working. They've looked good the past couple of years. Everyone said, oh, we got to talk about Boston. We got to talk about Boston. Yeah, we need to talk about how Boston needs to change up their roster, and they need to start reaching for stars. They need to back up Jason Tatum with a legit second option. Jaylen Brown's nice. I think Jaylen Brown's more of a third option, not a second option. So you need to back up Jason Tatum with the young star or another star, so to say. Up next, Miami. So Miami was swept by Milwaukee. Again, they had no one to really rely on to score other than Duncan Robinson, and once they shut Duncan Robinson out, the blowouts just got worse and worse. So I think for Miami, they need a number 1 scorer, and as I mentioned last segment, a dream scenario is Kawhi going to Miami, because I think Miami is already a well-established team. They have a good culture, and I think they need someone to just come in and get you buckets, which, again, in my notes, it says Miami needs a number 1 scorer. So that's all it tells me. If you want to give yourself a chance against Brooklyn or Milwaukee, you need a number 1 scorer. I don't think Jimmy Butler is a good number 1 scorer. I do believe he's a number 2 scorer. He'll do a lot of the dirty work, but I think if you need a number 1 scorer, go for Kawhi or go for someone like that. So that's what this first round exit told me about Miami. All right, the Knicks. I thought the Knicks would beat the Hawks just because I wasn't sold on the Hawks. But the Hawks outshot them. Obviously, Bogdanović, Trae Young, they all went off. Gallinari went off. What this tells me is that the Knicks need shooting. You can't rely on R.J. Barrett. You can't rely on Julius Randle. And if you're relying on Derrick Rose to get you buckets, I'm sorry, but you're not going to get far with that. So the New York Knicks need some shooting. They need to go after a shooter. Go after Bradley Beal. That guy can get you a bucket whenever you need it, and he's a consistent shooter. So go get someone that can actually shoot, or maybe just go get a bunch of 3-point shooters. Who knows? But you need shooting. That's what the Knicks need. They got outshot by Atlanta. After a while, they just couldn't keep up with scoring with Atlanta. So what does that tell me? That the Knicks need some shooters. Memphis, what did this tell me about Memphis? They surprised me. I didn't think they were going to make the playoffs this year. Ja Morant is going to be a superstar, and he's, in my opinion, going to be better than Zion Williamson. Again, Memphis had no reason to be there. They had no reason to steal one game against Utah, but they did. What does this tell me? It tells me that Memphis is young right now, and they're going to be good if they can surround Ja Morant and draft well. So I think I have high hopes for Memphis, and I do believe Memphis will be good within the next year or two. They're definitely going to be in the playoff contention every single year as long as they keep Ja Morant and Dillon Brooks. Washington, blow it up. The Russell Westbrook experiment was terrible. The Bradley Beal, you just got to get rid of him. You just got to accept your rebuild. No need to add stars. No need to add washed up stars and all this other stuff. Blow it up. Let it go. Just accept rebuild mode. I know it's hard for some teams to accept rebuild mode, but they need to accept the rebuild mode. Give away Bradley Beal. Get some assets for him. Get some draft picks. Be like Sam Presti. Get 400 draft picks. Start developing and drafting. I mean, you got Bronny in a couple of years coming out into the league. Start building for him. Start building for the young guys that are up and coming. So, Washington, blow it up. Anyways, that's my segment on my thoughts on the teams that were eliminated in the first round. All right, so that is my episode. I know it's going to be a really, really long episode, but again, I was off for 2 weeks. I have a lot to talk about. I finally got around to talking. I finally found some time to just kind of film an episode. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully, if you are this far, I want to say thank you for going this far, and thanks for the support that you continue to give me. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Keep up with the show by clicking the subscribe button to get the latest from the show. Also, turn on the notifications to know when a new episode is posted. Thank you.